Trash that finds its way into a storm drain into the San Antonio River. Think about when it rains in South Texas. It seems like it's all or nothing for us, either bone dry outside or total deluge. Our area is prone to flash flooding.
So normally we're seeing about 10 to 15 CFS in the San Antonio River on any normal given day, and we'll see that rise very rapidly up to 2,000 plus CFS, cubic feet per second in flow.
The biggest mess often happens when it's been a while since it rained.
Maybe we haven't had rain in a month. That first 1 inch of rain is kind of what we refer to as the first flush, and that's where you'll see a lot of those trash and floatables start to migrate, but then also that thatch. And
Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
They spent thousands of dollars on headstones for their lost loved ones, but never got them. In a story she's been tracking for more than a year, Courtney Friedman follows through with victims after the woman responsible finally pleads guilty.
Plus, KSAT goes behind the scenes with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. Garrett Berger rode along with the Top Offender program, and they made an arrest right in front of our cameras.
And crime scene photos on display for the jury. Erica Hernandez takes us inside the trial of 3 former San Antonio police officers.
Rain chances looking more promising for the end of the week into the upcoming weekend, as well as the potential of our first noticeable cold front. We'll get into it in just a bit.
Good evening, I'm Myra Arthur.
And I'm Ernie Zuniga. First up this afternoon, day after day, warrant after warrant, arrest after arrest. That is the work of the Bexar County Sheriff's Top Offender Program, or STOP unit.
Garrett Berger rode along with them today as they carried out warrants around Bexar County. He joins us now live from the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. So, Garrett, walk us through what this team does exactly.
Myra, in short, they put people in cuffs and they bring them here over to the Bexar County Jail. Now, this unit is primarily focused on felony warrants, but misdemeanor cases can get into the mix when it comes to something like family violence. And that was their big focus today, as it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And this is what we saw when we rode along.
Family violence, impede breath, terroristic threat, unlawful restraint. So he has in total 7 arrest warrants issued to him.
In South Bexar County, the STOP unit prepared for the worst.
This person has threatened to shoot law enforcement.
As they got ready to go after a man who had eluded them before.
If we don't get him, that night, we'll continue to try until we do get him. We're pretty persistent at that.
The STOP unit staged up the road from the house where they thought their target might be to put on body armor and arm up and scout ahead with the drone.
Yeah, he's got like 6 pit bull there.
With a plan in place.
If things go sideways and we got to do a med evac, we're going to use that vehicle. We're staged, we're ready to go.
They rode in.
Hold on.
They searched 2 homes, but ultimately, the man they were looking for wasn't there.
We believe he might be at work.
It can be hit or miss for the team, but they keep swinging.
We don't patrol, we don't do mental health. All we do is pretty much serve felony warrants.
And there are people that run, there are people that fight. They don't want to go to jail because our main purpose as the STOP unit is to take people's liberties away for warrants.
At a West Side apartment complex, they had better luck. With a GPS ankle monitor of their target, guaranteed they'd find him. Court records indicate his warrant likely related to an old child sex abuse case for which the man was on probation.
Took him into custody without incident or anything, and 9 out of 10 times that's what happens. But we always got to be careful. We always got to be cautious.
Now, the STOP unit name is a relatively new one, but it's not a new unit. There's a rebranding of what used to be called the FAU, or Fugitive Apprehension Unit. They got a new name and some slightly different responsibilities, but the main mission remains the same. It's, again, serve warrants, put people in cuffs, put them in jail. Live outside that jail, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Interesting look at their work, Garrett. Thank you. It is day 8 of the trial for 3 former SAPD officers. It was a short day of testimony that had the jury looking at crime scene photos and key pieces of evidence in that case.
So the officers are charged in the 2023 shooting death of Melissa Perez. Erica Hernandez takes us inside the courtroom and gives us insight on what the jury was shown today.
Photo after photo shown to the jury of the crime scene after Melissa Perez was shot and killed back on June 23, 2023. Perez was believed to be having a mental health crisis when she cut the fire alarm system to her apartment complex. Police were trying to arrest her when body cam footage showed she swung a hammer at officers, leading them to shooting and ultimately killing her. Alfred Flores, Eliezer Alejandro, and Nathaniel Villalobos all charged in the case. The crime scene photos were that of shell casings and inside the apartment complex. Also shown to the jury was the actual hammer Perez is seen swinging at officers on that body cam footage. We tried to catch up with one of the defense attorneys on the case, Nicola Hood. He couldn't talk to us, but on social media, he posted this about his thoughts on the trial so far.
We feel very passionate about our clients' innocence, and hopefully what's happening in court is you're seeing the inconsistencies of the government's position. We're going to continue to fight.
Ultimately, it will be up to the jury to decide if those former officers are guilty or not guilty. But if convicted, they face up to life in prison. Testimony will resume tomorrow. Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Erica, thank you. She was hit by a San Antonio police vehicle and now says the city is dragging its feet to settle a claim. Denise Martinez suffered significant lower back injuries in that April wreck, and now she's asking the city to settle the claim she filed so that she can pay her portion of a back surgery that she needs and have enough money to recuperate until she can return to work full time.
I'm a mother. I can't sit here for 2 years and be in pain like this or not have the surgery. I need to go back to work.
KSAT Investigates, Hit by the City, airs later on tonight. You can catch it at 10 on the Night Beat.
The San Antonio Food Bank is sounding the alarm over the ongoing government shutdown. They say it could have a crippling effect for families across the 29 counties that they serve. Leaders with the SA Food Bank told KSAT today that those who receive SNAP and WIC benefits are stocking up for food right now. They've been notified their November benefit might be delayed. The president and CEO of the food bank, Eric Cooper, says that if funding is not resolved by October 27th, it will take a toll on federal, military, and government contractors during the upcoming holidays. They estimate a total of 189,000 people in our region would feel the impact of that. That's why they are putting out a call for donations right now. All right, Meals on Wheels needs your help. It needs everybody's help in the community right now more than ever. Is because of the recent budget cuts, the group will have to pause meal deliveries to 350 seniors starting October 27th. But you at home can help. We are kicking off a KSAT community phone bank to raise funds and keep meals coming to those who need them. Join us this Thursday, October 23rd, for a KSAT community phone bank. That phone bank starts during GMSA at 5 a.m. and runs until 7 p.m. And your call can make a difference. It is a chance to help seniors in our community get the food they need, and this is an opportunity to step up for our community together. KSAT is your home for election coverage, and early voting is officially underway. Right now on your screen are some important dates to keep in mind. We also have a QR code where you could scan that for information about polling locations and explanations of all the big ballot items. All right, well, let's take a look outside right now. I think the polls close at 6 o'clock, I believe, right? So or they may be closing down. But nonetheless, if you were heading out, whatever you're doing this evening, at least in the quarry area, looks pretty good there. 281 at the quarry, not looking too bad. So we'll continue to keep an eye on everything. And, of course, if anything develops here in the next hour or so, we'll be sure to let you know. 16 local families have been waiting to hear one word: guilty. This is a major update today to an investigation that our Courtney Friedman began in February of 2024. So those families say over the past few years, they bought cemetery headstones for their loved ones. Angelic Monuments owner Elena Moreno took around $50,000 from them, but never delivered those headstones. So this KSAT investigation and the victim's persistence here led to Moreno's arrest last year. Tonight, Courtney shows us where the case stands now.
Josh Giano was kind, funny, and creative.
My stepson, been in his life since he was 8 years old. He was 20 when he passed. and just flipped our lives upside down.
Angela Diano wanted a custom headstone for Josh, so she went to a company called Angelic Monuments.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful with the microphone.
Yep.
So this is the sketch that she made.
Yes.
Herself.
Right.
Okay. And you really thought she was going to get this to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The owner, Elena Moreno, did headstone sketches like this for 16 families who eventually went to police, saying Moreno took their money and disappeared.
Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hi, Elena. This is Courtney Friedman with KSAT 12 News. Just giving you a call again.
As part of KSAT's investigation last year, we found out one family paid more than $8,000 for their headstone. The total listed in the reports is over $50,000. A reminder Moreno got from Judge Stephanie Boyd on October 14th.
You're charged with theft of property, $30,000 to $150,000. That's a third-degree felony. Range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine.
Yes. That day, Diano sat in the back of the courtroom alongside other victims to hear these very words.
How do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty. You're one of the main people who said this is wrong.
Right.
And now you just were in the room where you heard her say guilty.
Right.
What did that feel like for you?
It was a little bit of relief, a little bit of satisfaction that she finally was saying to the judge, I'm guilty. A little bit of closure that some of us need. I know that we need that.
Moreno has until her sentencing on December 9th to pay each victim back in full.
The cashier's check will need to be made out to those complainants individually.
Diano said that would be wonderful, but there's a bigger picture here.
There's just another huge side of it where it's not even about the money. It's just taking from us emotionally as much as she did, that, you know, to see some justice on that.
Well, I'm really glad that this is a chapter that you can close now.
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time for you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
All right, well, there is a buzz around trade jobs, so much so that one local college is expanding its vocational training resources. After the break, we're going to tell you about the program at Palo Alto College and how much a welder can expect to make, and you might be surprised.
Let's take a look outside with live cam as we head to break here. Ooh, that air was thick out there today, but that humidity is going to be changing. Adam Caskey is going to talk about that change and the rain chances coming our way next. Hi, Don. How are you?
Wednesday on the news at 6.
3 years since I first met you?
Yeah.
What has changed in 3 years?
A story about making the most out of a second chance.
I know for a fact people could change. You know what I'm saying? Looking at change, right, Joe?
I've seen it. I've seen people change their lives.
From decades in prison to a national honor, it's a KSAT follow-up, 3 years in the making.
What's it mean to you to be able to say all of that?
I want to help guys that was like me.
It's Wednesday on the news at 6.
We're learning what led up to a shooting that happened here on the west side just 1 week ago that left one man dead and 2 officers injured. Coming up tonight in the Night Beat, an eyewitness account and what questions are still unanswered.
Well, vocational training is seeing an increase in interest, especially in welding, and that growing interest prompted Palo Alto College to make a big investment.
Yeah, they earmarked $1 million to expand their welding lab. Bashada Pope takes us inside the college's new and bigger lab that opened just in time for the new school year.
Good job with that.
The demand is high.
I have customers calling all the time looking for welders.
We're going to fire again. Fire.
Yves Fanfel is the lead welding instructor at Palo Alto College and says that demand is across different industries around Texas and here in San Antonio.
Right now, the oil field and the car industries, really it's the battery side. So right now there's a lot of places that are opening up that are trying to refurbish batteries for all these Teslas and these other. JCB is coming to town. They're going to be hiring somewhere around 200 manual welders.
Luis Fernandez, the dean of professional programs, says school officials saw the demand and took action.
We're willing to invest money to expand our welding program.
Palo Alto's welding lab initially had 26 booths, but it reached capacity so fast, the school stepped in with $1 million investment, and now there's 46 booths.
Expansion started in 2024, and the larger lab opened at the start of the fall semester.
It's a great investment. Our students, now we have about 45 students per cohort that we can service, where the additional $1 million was invested into this program.
The expansion is allowing even more students like Sandra Gomez to get their hands-on experience to hone their skills and get exposure to what the industries are looking for.
A lot of robotic welding, which is pretty cool. Like, we advance so much in technology. I love it.
Gomez says the investments and efforts put into PAC's welding program is helping her walk away with
certifications and a welding associates.
To not only make a career, but to become one of Palo Alto's future welding instructors. Bashada Pope, KSAT 12 News.
And KSAT also did some digging to find out the range of salary that a welder can expect. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 a year. Also on your screen are some median salaries for other trades, and you can see the numbers are pretty similar. All of this is data from 2024.
I've talked to welders over the years, and you forget. I mean, even like this set, for example, so many things that have been welded. I mean, their jobs will be secure for many decades to come.
Yeah, we have to have them.
And it's a lot harder than it looks. That's the
I've had to believe it. Yeah.
So well, we have some lower humidity now.
Oh, thank
nice
goodness.
Thing,
that air outside this morning, whew.
It was thick.
It was thick.
Weld it with a...
However we put it that way, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Dew point was at 70 earlier today. Now it's down into the 50s. So the humidity's still dropping. It's going to be low tonight through tomorrow. Rain increasingly likely Friday night through Saturday morning. How much could we get? There could be some fortunate neighborhoods that get 1 to 3 inches. That's going to be the exception and not the norm. Notice during the daytime hours on Friday, just a 30% chance, maybe even less than that. It's mainly Friday evening, especially Friday night on into the first half of Saturday, where we boost those rain chances up to 60%. Like, some downpours are likely within those showers and storms. As of now, the timing looks favorable for most of the Friday night football games. I think a lot of it would be after the games, but a lot can change between now and then. We're watching this upper level swirl, this upper level disturbance that's over the Pacific. It's just drifting right now, but it's going to start pushing eastward as our Upper level high breaks down, opens the door for this disturbance. Some good upper energy with it, and we'll have some decent moisture as well in the air. The mugginess will be back by then, and we'll have some upper level moisture moving in, giving us our rainfall potential that so far is looking fairly promising. Now, this is just one computer estimate and just one model run. We have 4 of these model runs every day, and they're always different and often significantly different. But what I want to say is here, look, you look at these exaggerated numbers of 4 to 5 inches. That's the extreme exception and probably not going to happen. I think 1 to 3 inch pockets is the most likely scenario over the time frame of Friday night through about midday on Saturday. Right now, we're at 88, but the dew point, 56. Once that dew point gets under 60, it feels a little more refreshing outside, not as sticky. And that's what we have with that north wind at 11 miles per hour. So notice how up into the hill country, Edwards Plateau, dew points in the 40s. That drier air is pushing southward. It's just taking its sweet old time with this weak cool front that moved through. But notice how the dew points will continue to drop tonight, throughout the day tomorrow. Pleasant, not as sticky, not as muggy as what we had earlier today. And then by Wednesday morning, or I should say by Thursday morning, the humidity's back, and you're going to notice it Thursday all the way through the weekend and even into next week. Temperature-wise now, 88 at the airport, west side Port SA 90, south side at 88, 89 Seguin, Bernie 82, and Comfort 85. Temperatures gradually falling off. I mean, 88 right now, but 82 at 8 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, we're at 78 and midnight 74. And tomorrow, we'll start the day in the 60s. That is outside of the hill country. 64 here in town. In the hill country, we'll have some 50s because of the drier air. You can cool off more efficiently. So Kerrville, for example, tomorrow morning, 57, Fredericksburg at 54. By noon, we're at 80, then 86 the high, and just a gentle east-southeasterly wind at 5 to 10 with the low humidity. Mixture of sun and clouds. Really not feeling all that bad tomorrow. A nice day. 90 Del Rio, 88 Pleasanton, New Braunfels 86. Then it's back near 90 for Thursday and Friday. Again, mainly Friday night on into the first half of Saturday with that rainfall potential. And check back in for updates, because not only could things change, they will. They will change between now and then. And sometimes what we see is these systems accelerate a little bit faster than anticipated. So check back in for updates. And then Sunday looking dry, and we could actually have our first noticeable cold front, please, by next week. Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. I'm pretty conservative on those numbers. I've got 78 the high on Wednesday. There's the potential it could be lower than that, okay?
That a 60 on there?
Yeah, the potential it could be a lot lower than that. I'm just not going there yet because we've been burned by these potential fronts so much this year.
We've also been very patient, so hopefully that pays off.
Exactly. And we waited long enough for NBA basketball. Mary, we are, again, just, 24 hours-ish, 26 hours away from tip-off, opening tip-off.
Yes, between the Spurs and Mavericks. Big excitement this year for San Antonio, and I'm sure Spurs fans are chomping at the bit for some silver and black basketball. And coming up, we'll talk about Cooper Flag getting to meet year 3 Victor Wembanyama. Larry Ramirez joins us live to talk about that battle. And the Texans defense did all they could last night. The offense just couldn't feed off their energy. How it went down in Seattle after the break.
I've never seen him play in person or even seen him in person, but from what the guys have told me, he's kind of just something you've never seen before.
It'll be a fun matchup. We're talking opening night in big board sports. The NBA's 2025-2026 season tips off tonight with two games. Lakers Warriors and the OKC Thunder, who will raise their championship banner against KD and the Houston Rockets. Now, Spurs fans won't have to wait too long. Tomorrow night, San Antonio's 82-game journey begins with their in-state rivals. And joining us again live in Dallas is Sports Director Larry Ramirez. Larry, I like where the schedule makers' heads were at with this first game for the Spurs.
Oh, Mary, thank you very much. And I agree 100%. It's the Mavericks and the Spurs right out of the gate. A Texas team versus a Texas team featuring two of the best young players in the NBA in Cooper Flagg and Victor Wembanyama. Now, Wemby is entering his third season in the NBA, and he's definitely a man on a mission. From training with monks over the summer to packing on some extra weight, Wemby is ready to help the Spurs in their 6-year-long playoff drought. He's the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, and don't be surprised if he joins the top of the MVP conversation. Now, Flagg is only 18, and he still has a lot to prove himself. But from Summer League to preseason games, he's definitely put on a show since the Mavs took him #1 overall. Wemby was asked about Flagg and if he studied him ahead of tomorrow's game.
I haven't really studied, but seen lots of highlights, obviously. Have always loved the intensity. And, I think it takes some humility to play with such intensity in an era where, for young players, it's cool to be nonchalant. You know what I mean?
He's a dynamic athlete with a second to none level of competitiveness that sets a tone defensively and is also, multifaceted on the offensive end. So he's pretty good, and looking forward to seeing him continue to grow in this league.
We are one sleep away from the Mavs hosting the Spurs tomorrow night at 8:30 at the American Airlines Center. And the Mavs, well, they have beaten the Spurs 2 straight season openers, and the Spurs certainly want to change that tomorrow night. Mary, back to you.
Thank you very much, Larry. Well, Houston's defense did a lot of good things last night against Seattle, but the same could not be said about the offense. The Texans forced 4 turnovers and scored a defensive touchdown, but the offense squandered opportunity after opportunity in the 27-19 loss that dropped them to 2-4. And we're still waiting on an update on star wideout Nico Collins, who suffered a concussion in the game. Here's what C.J. Stroud said about the offense's performance.
There's a lot of things. I think first I got to point to myself and missing a couple throws. You just I got to work through the pressure. They'll bring some blitzes. Got to just do some things, to run some different schemes. I think it will help, but I just think we just didn't catch a rhythm.
The Texans on the primetime stage, they don't get along too well these days.
It was really late at night last night,
late.
Texas time, so maybe they were tired. I don't know. But
yeah.
Mary, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. All right, coming up next, our KSAT Q&A with Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones. She's joining us here in studio after the break.
All right, welcome back. Bottom of the hour here. It's been a couple of weeks, I think, but we're happy to have the Honorable Mayor of San Antonio, Gina Ortiz-Jones, back with us on a Tuesday.
Yeah, we got lots to talk about, Mayor. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with y'all.
Okay, so early voting is underway. Right. So much focus on Props A and B related to Spurs Arena funding and the Frost Bank Center. You've been very outspoken about the funding mechanisms for a potential new Spurs Arena, but do you plan on publicly saying whether you support or oppose either one of the props, A or B?
Yeah, well, I have publicly stated my position, and I share that in an op-ed in San Antonio Express News, which over the weekend, which I said, look, I am committed to negotiating. You know, there will be a San Antonio on November 5th, regardless of the outcome. And if Proposition B in particular passes, right, then we continue to negotiate. There are still many project agreements as part of that we need to finalize. Again, that term sheet is non-binding, so we've got to make sure that we are all happy with what we negotiate there. And if Prop B fails, if that is the will of the people, then if the Spurs wish to continue doing so, then we also continue negotiating. There is lots of time to do that.
So the op-ed did stop short of saying whether you support or oppose Prop B. Are you planning to take a public position on that?
I will continue to talk about what we need to negotiate on, right? Again, as I've shared, it's not. I think we would really benefit as a city to kind of look up a little bit and look at some of the examples that we've got across the country. In the op-ed, I point to one of the things I'd like to negotiate on, again, are some kind of revenue sharing from naming rights. And again, this is not something I am picking out of thin air. This is in fact something I am looking that has happened in Miami-Dade County. They just signed a deal, not just, I guess more recently, $117 million over 17 years. And so that's quite a bit of chunk of change each year. And only $2 million of that goes to the heat. The rest of that goes into the county to pay for county and city services. So as you've heard me talk about, right, it's not just the deal, it's also our overall financial picture. We need resources into our general fund. And so, you know, the way in which we can have a win-win for the city and the Spurs, I think we owe it to ourselves in light of the financial situation we are in now. Reminder, $150 million budget deficit in FY27. We have a plan to close that, but as you know, it ain't. If the budget ain't final, it ain't closed. So let's be smart about this and negotiate a good deal for the city and for the Spurs.
So you talked about if the propositions fail, that negotiations would, in theory, continue. But
they could.
Do you have any sense of? I mean, the Spurs have said what they will do if it passes, obviously, but they haven't really said what they would do if it fails. Do you have any sense as to? I mean, worst case scenario. Relocation, what could happen? They would continue to negotiate with you?
I think that's for the Spurs to answer. I would certainly hope so, right? I think again, there's lots of time to do that. Yeah. And I think as I've engaged with a lot of folks, everybody wants to support the team. Everybody, again, knows that the team is synonymous with our city. I think we have to go, though, as fast as the people of San Antonio are comfortable. And that means continuing to negotiate on these things so everybody feels like it is, in fact, a win-win, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you something not related to the election, but a tragedy that happened outside of John Jay High School recently, your alma mater. A student was crossing at a crosswalk there, going to lunch, was hit and killed by a truck. You put out a statement in regard to that last week. Is there anything the city is looking at along Marbach Road to try to increase safety?
Yeah, and again, my heart goes out to the Flores family. I know he was laid to rest recently. You know, may perpetual light shine upon him. I know, and I'm thankful that Juan Ayala, the interim public works director, is undergoing a safety review there of what may be appropriate. Anybody from that part of town knows that, yeah, cars go, unfortunately, there in front of the school way too fast. And, you know, sometimes not all the students are paying as much attention to what's going on around them as they should. So I look forward to the findings of that study and recommendations that come out of that.
Okay, we have a little bit more time with the mayor here. I want to kind of transition over to these so-called rainbow crosswalks here. We talked about how the governor has called for the removal of them. The city is pushing back a bit, and this is what we're talking about here if you're not familiar with it. What is the very latest on this, and how ultimately do you think this ends?
Well, you know, there are so many more important things that I wish leaders were focused on at all levels of government.
But we're seeing this play out in other cities as well.
Yeah, so, no, and it's unfortunate. Look, we don't live in Illinois. We don't live in Maryland. We don't live in California. We live in Texas. And so I think it's really important. And look, do you think the gay mayor has thoughts on this? And there's things I'd like to say that I certainly, right? But I also recognize that it's really important that we pick our battles. Right? Let's be smart. Let's be pragmatic. Again, this is not Illinois. This is not California. Right. And I would argue if you want to support the LGBTQ community, you know what? Go to the LGBTQ Chamber website, go find an LGBTQ-owned business or allied-owned business, and go support them. There are many more ways in which we can show our pride. You know, my pride is certainly not tied to a crosswalk. My pride is in understanding who I am, the contributions that the LGBTQ community has made to our city, to our country, and certainly to our state, and none of that is erased. I think we've got to be smart, though, and make sure, because again, I am cognizant of the world of hurt that could come to our community in terms of retribution. And so again, we have to focus on what is going to serve the most people, not just make us feel good, right?
You're talking about that retribution. The governor's saying that if crosswalks with what he called political ideologies are not removed, that funding could be withheld. Right. We are already dealing with a time in which federal funding, I know the city's having conversations about that possibly being withheld. So you're saying it's not worth it right now?
I, in my mind, think we've got bigger battles to fight. And we've got to be smart about the ones that we pick. I know there is an exemption that is going to be filed, and we'll see what the outcome of that is. I'm not optimistic, to be frank, because I'm a realist when it comes to these things. And I think we, you know, again, we look at ways in which we can look at best serving our community. As you point out, we're already facing some federal cuts, right? We are concerned about federal grants that may be threatened largely in the public health space. We all know the cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, and SNAP are coming. Just last week, we had our initial discussion on the tabletop, right, which is our effort to kind of lay out what are those scenarios that we really need to plan for should the federal cuts, when they come to the most vulnerable. What does that mean for our budget? Because it is not impossible that you would see changes in our city budget affecting the very services that the most vulnerable in our community would need. Those, in fact, with now less money in their pocket as a result of those cuts to CHIP, Medicare, SNAP, et cetera. So those are the kinds of things we as a city need to be focused on. The crosswalks will figure themselves out, right? We've got to make sure we're moving forward with the most vulnerable in mind.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, Mayor Jones, we appreciate your time as always. Thanks for being here.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
And we'll see you in just a little bit.
All right, a heads up now happening tomorrow. Comal ISD is hosting its annual College, Career, and Military Fair. That's happening from 6 to 8 p.m. at Davenport High School. They'll welcome about 70 recruiters from colleges, businesses, trade schools, and military branches.
Let's take a look outside with live cam. Changes to the humidity, changes in our rain chances. We are watching something a little more interesting in the forecast this weekend.
As long as Adam doesn't change.
Good luck with that. People have been trying for years, I think. Right? I do want to point out on Authority Radar, we had one little shower pop up in Medina County from this weak front that's moving through. There you go. Don't blink. You'll miss it. Over the past couple of hours near Castroville. This is very brief splash and dash along Highway 90 from Hondo to Castroville. Most of the action was closer to the Gulf coastline. And even then, very limited in nature. Generally Houston to Edna, Victoria. And that's about it. But better rain chances by the end of Friday and on into the beginning of Saturday. Dew points are dropping. Humidity is getting lower. It's feeling better outside. And that's going to continue to be the case with the dew points dropping through the night tonight. Low humidity tonight, low humidity tomorrow. Then the humidity returns by Thursday morning. That's then followed by the rain chances. We'll get to that in the new tropical storm in the Caribbean in just a bit.
All right, we got something to talk about in the tropics, Adam.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, we do. Tropical Storm Melissa, that's the latest. And this is some good high-resolution satellite imagery from NOAA and Colorado State University. They have a great joint program that really has this high-resolution data. You see the lightning strikes in there, too, as the convection really developed throughout the day today. So here's a better reference point, so you know where we're looking. This is in the Caribbean, just south of Dominican Republic and Haiti. I have it circled here. It's still a relatively weak system, some winds up to 50 miles per hour within it. This isn't going to move very much. It doesn't have much wiggle room. Notice how this forecast fan is basically a circle because it just has a small area to move in the Caribbean between eastern Cuba and Haiti, basically. That's about it. And you look at the spaghetti plots, and They're generally clustered right there in that small area, and then eventually kick it out farther to the east, out into the Atlantic. Around here, we have decent rain chances, actually, looking more promising. That's the key. There's actually hope for a change and increasing likelihood. And that would be Friday evening through Friday night and on into the first half of Saturday for the best chance of rain. Still not everybody getting in on the action, but I think over half of south central Texas should. Upper level high breaking down, moving southward. Opens the door for this upper disturbance to move in from the Pacific. Bring us some rain-making energy, and we'll have some good moisture in place. And it should cause some rain across a good chunk of the state, which we have been drying out, by the way. But a good chunk of the state getting in on some rain and even some localized heavy rainfall, where I do think we'll have some of the luckiest neighborhoods getting about 1 to 3 inches of rain. But there's going to be some that get a trace or less. So just cross your fingers and hope for the best for your area. But obviously, we need the rain. I mean, we know that. Everything is crunchy, dry, and brown outside, and the drought monitor still has us in the extreme to exceptional drought locally. And we are drying out across the rest of the state. Now about 30% of Texas considered in drought. 90 was our high today. 3 degrees shy of the record set back in 2023, and way above average, average being 81. We actually could get there by next week, about Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. We could actually potentially get down into the more fall-like conditions. So far this October, we've had 17 90-degree days. The record is 19 for the month of October. So we're going to rival that. We could very well do that, even if it's just tying it in the days ahead. The average is only 6. Obviously, we're way above average, but that probably doesn't surprise anybody. Tomorrow morning, some 50s in the hill country. Comfort, beautiful, 56. Bandera, 59. Kerrville, 57 at sunrise. Meanwhile, 64 here in town, mid-60s locally. And then by the noon hour, we're already up to 80. 86 the high. Low humidity, though. That's the key. Throughout the day tomorrow, you're not going to feel the mugginess, which when you're in the shade is a lot more refreshing than what we've had lately. I mean, dew points this morning were at 70 degrees. It was sticky. But tomorrow afternoon, widespread 80s for highs and most of us in the mid 80s. Then it's back to right near 90 Thursday and Friday. The humidity returns on Thursday. And a lot can and likely will change between now and Friday night. So check back in for the updates on the rainfall potential and timing. But also look at middle of next week. We could actually have real fall-like conditions. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Crossing our fingers.
Dust off the sweaters here pretty soon. Okay, Esther, thank you very much.
We'll be right back.
All right, we have basketball on the brain, and we are just a few minutes away from another episode of KSAT Sports Now.
That is our streaming show that starts at 7 o'clock. Mary Rominger joining us in the newsroom to talk about the big regular season matchup. We're ready for some Spurs action, Mary.
Yes, we are. And if you, as a Spurs fan, haven't paid attention as closely to the Spurs offseason as you would have liked, well, no worries, because we're getting you ready for tomorrow's matchup. Coming up on KSAT Sports Now, beginning at 7 o'clock, they face the Mavericks in Dallas, as we've talked about all evening. And there are new faces on the Spurs roster this year, so we'll talk about that. Who to look out for, who is going to make a key impact for the Spurs in 2025-2026. Also, our sit down with Jeremy Sohan. He talks about his summer overseas, the Spurs rookies, what he thinks about them, Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant. Also, his outlook on the season, what he thinks the Spurs will be this year, his role in San Antonio, and interesting, what he learned from Chris Paul. I'm sure Chris Paul, his veteran presence, all he taught the young Spurs still lives within the team. And you don't want to miss 4 and Out, where Larry and I have 4 topics total that we debrief from what usually is a very busy sports weekend in San Antonio and beyond. So that's all coming up on KSAT Sports Now, beginning at 7 o'clock on KSAT Plus and KSAT.com. We'll be right back.
Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on ABC Primetime at 7. It is Dancing with the Stars, followed by High Potential at 9, and then, of course, the Night Beat at 10.
Quick check of traffic if you're headed out the door or maybe waiting for somebody to get home. Here's the view. Highway 90 at Couples Road. You can see the on-ramp right there. Really no major issues to tell you about. Traffic moving just fine. Adam.
I think TexStats is just pointing out how dry we are, just showing us the,
Yeah,
brown grass.
Yeah. That was pretty obvious.
Crunchy.
Well, maybe some relief soon.
Yeah, it looks like some good rainfall potential Friday night.
All right, thanks, Adam. And thank you for watching the news at 6.
We'll see you tonight on the Night Beat at 10.